sitting here looking over my life, Lord. Let me take inventory. Can I take it? Can I take it? 'Cause I know you. I know you. I know you've been good to me, Lord. I come from a poor family. We didn't have much, but the Lord been good to me. Come from a poor family. We didn't have much.
Good morning, Metro Detroit. I am Deanna Wilcoxen. I'm sitting in this morning for J.D. Hill as a part of Team EEOC. I want to spend our time together this morning, Metro Detroit, talking about something that, as you well know, is near and dear to my heart, and that is the education of our children, or in the case of the city of Detroit, I would rather categorize what we are doing relative to our children academically as the miseducation of Detroit's children. I want to spend our time looking specifically at an article that ran in the Detroit Free Press. It was written by Rochelle Riley. It is entitled, "Rhodes Extends Time with DPS to Focus on Strengthening Elected Board." I'm going to read the article to you in its entirety for the most part. I've left out a few paragraphs. But I want to share the article with you so that you get a sense of what Judge Rhodes is saying and what Rochelle Riley's opinions of what Judge Rhodes has said. It's a really interesting article in light of the fact that I spend a lot of time, unfortunately, talking about this blame the victim mentality. This article and this discussion with Judge Rhodes, who is the quote-unquote transition manager for the Detroit Public Schools, I think is one of the worst cases of blaming the victim that I've ever seen. It is so disrespectful professionally and from a human perspective. It is just plain, blatantly disrespectful. I want you to get your calls in queue. I have lines that are available. I want you to call in so that I can get your viewpoints. You all know that I always want to hear what you have to say on these various issues. So I want you to get yourselves in queue. As I said, I will set the tone by reading the article to you. After I've read the article to you, I want to go back and I want to analyze this article on a paragraph by paragraph basis for the most part. I want to tell you what I think about the article, and then I want you to tell me what you think about the article. I am wise enough to know that I could be completely missing the mark on this thing, and I want you to call in and straighten me out or let me know if you think I'm on the right track. But I just think that there is no more valuable asset to any community than its young people. And I really do think, from a conclusory standpoint, that the takeover of the Detroit Public Schools was an effective way of separating the Detroit community from her children. It is a clear line of demarcation. Our children have been taken out of the neighborhoods. The neighborhood schools have been decimated. So we have effectively separated two communities, young people from the rest of the Detroit community. It is an unfortunate situation. It is something that we are going to have to deal with. And I think we ought to start with this newest takeover of Detroit Public Schools. I think it's rather tragic that our schools have been taken over by the state of Michigan since 1999. And rather than Governor Snyder or anyone else in the state of Michigan saying, enough already, Detroiters deserve home rule. They deserve the ability to educate their children just as any other community does. But fairness is not carrying the day, unfortunately, at least in my estimation. So let's take a look at the article, and after we've done that, again, I'm going to analyze this from a paragraph-by-paragraph perspective. I'm going to share with you what my thoughts are, and then I'm going to welcome your thoughts. So get yourselves in queue. And I also want to point out before we leave each other today that Hillary Clinton has positions that she is paying people to fill. I am so disturbed every time people come into our community and ask us to volunteer for things. So I did get a notice yesterday for some volunteer positions, but I happen to have been at a meeting earlier in the month wherein there are some high-paid positions, I'm told. So I want to share that information with you because Lord knows we need jobs in our community. Again, this article is entitled Rhodes Extends Time with DPS to Focus on Strengthening Elected Board. Judge Stephen Rhodes met with Governor Rick Snyder this week and agreed to extend his contract as transition manager of the Detroit Public Schools until January, when Detroit swears in a new school board. Rhodes, whose contract was to expire September 30th, called the election of a new board monumental. He said it is the quote-unquote single most critical issue the school district will face this fall. And those leaders, he said, must come to the job committed to transforming the district into one of a futuristic district that meets the needs of the 45,000 students, and it earns the support, he said, of the region's business, religious, and civic communities. The new leadership is so important that Rhodes spent 2 hours in a special session with 53 of the 68 candidates vying for the office to fill them in on the district's condition and to answer questions about the job. He plans more sessions, and he has encouraged all of the candidates to get training on how to be an effective board member. The district will pay for this training for new board members, spokeswoman Crystal Williams said. Rhodes' decision comes 2 months after the state legislature narrowly passed a $617 million package of bailout bills designed to keep the district from financial collapse. While Snyder praised the deal, Detroit Democrats denounced it because it was $88 million short of what was needed, and no Detroit legislators were part of the negotiations. The bills also were flawed because they did not include a Detroit Election Commission to oversee the landscape of education in Detroit, something the city desperately needs. The legislation created 2 entities, an old one to pay off debt and a new school district that Rhodes and interim superintendent Alicia Meriwether are working with community leaders to create. It may feel simplistic, but it's the kind of stuff that can't be emphasized enough, Rhodes said of his list. The number one thing is being committed to serving as a trustee for the benefit of the district students. What that means is there's no other agenda, no vision on higher office, no self-aggrandizement. It's got to be all about the district students. His hope for each member is that they don't try to join the board with the agenda to use the job to seek higher office, a frequent motivator for legislator wannabes. He also said that the new board members must recognize that the district is not just for college-bound children, but for those whose future vocations can be taught outside of universities. And he said the board must find ways to, quote-unquote, compensate teachers whose dedication and sacrifice he praised. He also said the board members must commit themselves to excellence in academics and commit to hiring a permanent superintendent with that same commitment. Recognize the diverse needs and interests of each of the district's 45,000 plus students. Quote, they're not all going to college. Many have special needs. Some want a career technical education. Our academic offerings need to be as diverse as our student interest. Understand that education does not begin when the child walks into the school door and end when the child leaves the school door. There has to be a continuing commitment to parental engagement in the educational process. Recognize the quote-unquote sacrifice, dedication, and commitment that our educators have shown under this period of state control. A commitment to find a new way to compensate them appropriately. Be people who can play a special role in helping the district harness the resources of Detroit's business, civic, and religious communities to ensure the success of education in Detroit. Respect the Financial Review Commission, which some critics say is still a form of emergency management. Quote, "This will be challenging, but the FRC is a fact of life. And they really do want to help," Rhodes said. The nature of the FRC's role and responsibilities in relation to DPSCD, Detroit Public Schools Community District, is going to be a matter of continuing discussion and negotiation. The school board will continue that conversation. There will not be an emergency manager per se, but the enabling legislation for the Financial Review Commission is subject to interpretation, and that will take time to work out. There is a view which says it isn't just to balance budgets and books of records, but no one over there wants to be involved in the day-to-day academic issues. Work with Mayor Mike Duggan to continue to advocate for the Detroit Education Commission, quote unquote, or something like it, Rhodes said. There is this versus us mentality, both in the city of Detroit and outside of the city. And the school board has to figure out a way to break through that on both sides of the city's boundaries, end quote. Be willing to learn. Being an effective school board member is an art, Rhodes said. It has to be learned so that there has to be a commitment to learn how to do that, end quote. He suggested that the new members seek training from associations that already offer it. But additionally, he has met with candidates and will continue to offer inside looks at how the district works now. Oh, there's one other thing on which Rhodes and I agree. These board members must be honest, transparent, and committed to ensuring that those qualities resonate throughout the district. They must be willing to keep more of a watchful eye on the books. They must work overtime to ensure that no one's cooking the books. These members will take their seats 5 months after the federal government charged 12 principals, an administrator, and a vendor as co-conspirators in a bribery and kickback scheme involving school supplies that were never delivered. The alleged ringmaster, school supplies vendor Norman Shy, was charged with paying $908,500 in kickbacks and bribes to people who hired him and claimed that he delivered supplies that didn't always arrive at the schools. So the message to the 68 who come from all over the city of Detroit and who represent different neighborhoods, backgrounds, age groups, heritages, educational philosophies is this. You will be a part of the first school board in years to govern the district without an official emergency manager. You will not be paid a salary. And while you will be paid $30 for each meeting you attend and reimbursed for gas when you attend meetings away from your headquarters, you should donate both to the district. Your sole compensation should be the joy that comes from ensuring the Detroit school children are educated, prepared to work, and prepared to become the future taxpayers that the city so needs. The most important job right now in the city of Detroit is not mayor or president of the Detroit City Council. The most important job is school board member whose sole mission is to ensure the future of Detroit. What I've just read to you, Metro Detroit, is an article written by Rochelle Riley based on an interview that she had with Judge Rhodes regarding where we are with our children and education in the city of Detroit as we embark upon electing a school board this November. I think the article is extremely frustrating for me because I think it's disrespectful. I think it's condescending. I think that it's unrealistic. I think that it pegs Detroiters as stupid, not stupid, stupid people. So I think that it's professionally offensive. Now let me tell you why I feel that way. This first paragraph, which talks about Judge Rhodes's role in the city of Detroit, indicates that he is a transition manager. We spent a lot of time in this city talking about the fact that, in our estimation, he was not a quote-unquote transition manager. He was an emergency manager. He was the emergency manager that replaced Darnell Early. I took some time to conduct some research to figure out where this transition manager language came from, why it was that they kept trying to make it stick. They're right. According to the personal services contract that Judge Rhodes signed with the city of Detroit, he is the transition manager for the state of Michigan. His primary job was to make certain that the legislation passed that ended up loaning the city of Detroit $618 million. That was his job. His job was not to come in and to create a situation wherein Detroit's children were able to learn. The primary responsibility was to make certain that the legislation in Lansing was passed and that Detroiters were on the hook for paying for $618 million in debt. This article goes on to say that the school board needs to, quote unquote, earn the support of the region's business, religious, and civic communities. How many times have we talked about Detroit Public Schools recently, from Kevin Orr to Darnell Early to Robert Bobb, and the list goes on, wherein there is no mention of the residents of the city of Detroit, who are the taxpayers who actually foot the bill to educate Detroit's children? We've been totally marginalized. The article goes on to say that Judge Rhodes is not only spending 2 days of his time training school board candidates. They are not even school board members yet, mind you. He's training candidates in the art, he says, of being a school board member. We, the people, are going to pay for that training. We're paying Judge Rhodes to be in the city of Detroit to, quote unquote, train these people. And we're going to pay for their training, I guess, once they whittle the field down to the number of school board members that we're finally going to end up with. And mind you, this 2-hour session that Judge Rhodes has participated in, Judge Rhodes is a non-academician. His doctorate is in law. He has nothing in his background that would indicate that he knows anything about education. My doctorate is in law. Contrary to the background of Judge Rhodes, however, I have spent an enormous amount of time educating children. I have taught children from preschool to law school. I have taught in urban districts, and I have taught in more prosperous districts. Judge Rhodes does not have that in his background. The article goes on to say that Judge Rhodes was responsible for the $617 million package of quote-unquote bailout bills. How stupid do these people really think we are? How is it that anyone can bail you out when they loan you money at an 18.5% interest rate that you will pay back, and they're only loaning you the money in small increments so that you're being paid over a 10-year period of time? That is not a bailout. The article goes on to say that the school district is being broken into two districts. There was absolutely no input from Detroiters in terms of whether or not we wanted our schools broken up. What happens to the legacy rights, the legacy interest in Detroit public schools? What happens to those people who went to Mumford and Kettering and Cody? Those people who would gladly like to go back to their old alma maters and help the children in impoverished neighborhoods. Are Detroiters not entitled to be able to dust off their old jackets that say Cody High and feel a sense of pride the same way the people will in Livonia? Then they go on to tell us that Judge Rose wants to make certain, and I just want to read this again to you. He says the number one thing is commitment to serve as a trustee for the benefit of the district students. What that means is there's no other agenda, no vision for higher office, no self-aggrandizement. It's got to be about the district students. If Judge Rhodes had not sought higher office, he would still be in Ann Arbor practicing with a partner on a daily basis in a small private law firm. But he sought higher office. He became a bankruptcy judge. And if you take a look at the Huffington Post, Judge Rhodes, as an attorney on the bankruptcy court, I should say as a judge on the bankruptcy court, rewrote the rules of the bankruptcy court so that the judges on the bankruptcy court were not chosen randomly to deal with cases, but that so that the chief judge of the bankruptcy courts could decide who would get big, high-powered cases, such as the bankruptcy of the city of Detroit. And it ended up being given to Judge Rhodes. According to the Huffington Post, along with these positions come the prestige, speaking engagements, and we both know that that is code for big dollars after you've handled some of these major bankruptcy cases. And who handled the largest bankruptcy case in the nation's history? Judge Stephen Rhodes. But he does not want the school board to have any ambitions. They have to have as their sole goal to be a volunteer for excellence. The article goes on to say that the school board members need to understand that not all of our children are college bound. Some of them will need vocational education. Some of them will desire vocational educations, and we should be there for them. He should contact the Tuskegee Airmen who have been fighting to reopen Davis Aerospace School for how long now? Davis Aerospace was the only school in the nation which was being taught on an active airfield. Active. They closed Davis down and sent the students over to Golightly, a culinary school. But they want to tell us that vocational education is important. Wow. Judge Rose says that the school board members need to commit themselves in a monumental kind of way to being experienced in academics. This is a non-academician telling people that they should be steeped in academia. If it weren't so serious, Metro Detroit, it would really be funny. It's not funny. These are our children's lives that we're talking about. This is the next generation and the generation after that and the generation before them, because the state has taken over our schools since 1999, which means 3 generations have already been failed by the state of Michigan, breaking up the schools and leaving a financial review team in place means that we're looking at additional generations under state control. Judge Rhodes goes on to say that we need to recognize and appreciate the diverse needs of our students. Do they not understand that we, the people of the city of Detroit, fought to make certain that our deaf and special needs schools stayed open, that our school for pregnant women and women with new babies stayed open and functional? Where were they when we were fighting against sending Charles Pugh in to mentor our children at the Frederick Douglass Academy? They also go on to tell us that education does not begin when a child enters the school door, nor does it end when the child leaves the school door. Do they not recall that they stole early childhood education from us? That it was centralized in the city of Detroit at one time? Have they forgotten that? Do they think we've forgotten? Does anyone have a memory that's working with the state of Michigan? They say that we must find a way to compensate our teachers appropriately. Do they not recall when they gave our seasoned teachers who were certified in their disciplines 10-minute or less evaluations, pushed them out the door and said, you are laid off or you are fired, and they brought in Teach America teachers? Do they not remember? We remember. Judge Rose says that the nature of the Financial Review Commission is a fact of life. He says they really want to help. They don't want to help anybody but Detroit, Flint, and other predominantly African American communities. They stay in and meddle in our affairs and prevent us from teaching our children, but we're supposed to be okay with that. The article goes on to say that there is this them versus us mentality in the city of Detroit, and that the school board members must break through that. They must break through that so that we reach outside the boundaries of the city of Detroit. They said the same thing when Mayor Coleman Young was mayor. And how long ago was that? They said that there's this mentality that Detroiters see themselves as us versus them. But the school board that is not being paid, that you're asking to volunteer, is supposed to somehow break through that. Rochelle Riley goes on to tell us that these board members need to keep their eyes on the books, and they need to make certain that no one is cooking the books. Have they forgotten that the state of Michigan closed the Inspector General's office so that there were not financial layers of review to make certain that our monies were not spent on education? Have they forgotten that? They go on to tell us that this is the first time in years wherein we will not have a quote-unquote official emergency manager. What is a financial review commission if it is not emergency management? She goes on to say that the $30 per meeting that each of the school board members is to get for attending a meeting, and the gas stipend that they're supposed to get, they should donate both to the district, she says. While we pay Judge Rhodes $18,750 per month, And we pay all of these state officials who have come in and have high-paid, cushy jobs at our expense. But the school board members should work for free. She says they should work for the quote-unquote joy of serving the school district. I want to ask you, Metro Detroit, when you get ready to send your mortgage note in, when you get ready to pay your gas bill, your water bill, when you get ready to go to the grocery store to pick up grocery, does anyone allow you to pay with joy? Can you put joy inside of a mortgage note? Can you hand the cashier joy at the grocery store? And if you do hand him or her joy, will they give you any food? Can we barter joy? Why don't we pay Judge Rhodes some joy? Let's think about this, Metro Detroit. Judge Rhodes makes $18,750 per month. He says that he's going to stay on past the September 30th deadline for his contract. He's going to stay 3 more months. He's going to stay October, November, December, and the new school board is installed in January. That's 3 months. 3 months times $18,750 per month is $56,250. Could we not get some quality board members? Let's say some retired educators who just want something to do during the day, who bring credentials to the table. Could we not take $56,000, and when I was taking math, we round up, so $56,250 is $60,000. Could we not take $60,000 and say to some people, if you need to take a taxi cab to work, take a taxi cab because we'll pay you for that. Come to work. Don't worry about lunch because we'll take care of that. Could we not get some quality-oriented people who understand how to educate our children if we took the $60,000 that we're going to pay Judge Rhodes in additional money just to stay to educate a board? Mind you, we've never educated a board of education before, wherein we need someone to the tune of $18,750 per month to do that. So that's why I said at the outset, Metro Detroit, that I think that this is a blame the victim situation that we're confronted with. I think it is totally disrespectful. I think it's condescending. And I think that Judge Rhodes, Governor Snyder, the state of Michigan, ought to be called on it. A spade is a spade is a spade, or, as we commonly say, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, water rolls off its back like a duck, it's a duck. Metro Detroit, I'm Deetta Wilcoxen. As I said, I'm sitting in for J.D. Hill this morning. We want to talk about this. We want to talk about Rhodes extending his contract with DPS. I'm going to go to our phone lines. I still have one phone line that is not illuminated. I want you to get yourselves in queue. I'm going to take this one call. We're going to go to station break. On the other side of the break, I'm going to come back and I want to talk to you. As I've said any number of times on these airwaves, Metro Detroit, in the words of my grandmother, God did not die and grant intellectualism to any one of us. So I want to hear what you know. Caller, you're live.
Good morning, Mr. Wilcox.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm not doing good because I'm mad as hell at this crook Judge Rhodes, how he just sits up here and tell these bald-faced lies to the people. But see, I'm mad because, you're on to something. And we were talking, I spoke on you yesterday about this topic. I don't know if you're familiar with State Representative Daniego.
Daniego, yes. Sherry.
Okay. she was on the Mildred Gaddis show yesterday. If you can get in contact with her or Miss Gaddis and put this information that you got out on her show this afternoon, yes, we will pull them all out. We will call them all out. But this is just some more leverage for you. I swear, if you can get in contact with anyone, with either of them two, we will blow this lid off. Because I'm at the point now, like I said, I don't know if you heard the show yesterday, but it was parents on there, and I'm at the point where we're at the point to we're like, hey, how you just going to, like you said, how you just going to change our schools, break this up without any of our input? Hey, let's shut this stuff down. You know, you don't play with my child, my children like this. Who the hell you damn white people think you are? You dig? And I'm pissed off, and I'm mad at all you other black parents out here that's letting them treat y'all damn kids like that.
Well, let's be angry, but let's be angry, but let's tone the language down, okay?
Well, it's mainly focused towards the
parents. No. Now, you know I can't let you say that on the airwaves. You know I can't let you do that. I know that this is a painful topic. I know how impactful it is, but we have to maintain decorum. We have to maintain decorum. So let's get angry, and let's channel that angry towards correcting this problem. Let me take this other caller because I was forced to cut my previous caller short. I apologize for that, but again, we have to maintain decorum. Caller, you're live.
Hi, Ms. Wilcox.
Good morning.
Yeah, we have to tone it down a little bit because this is a show, and you know they're watching us and they listening and things. Whether they react to it, it's another matter. But excuse my voice. You hit the nail on the head. You're paying this guy $18,000 when you got people that's on disability, old folks on disability, he's only getting $600, $700 a month. You know, this retired judge that shouldn't be there in the first place. And it's sad that they're letting this go on like this. And we need the parents to get out and start raising sand about all this that's going on. We need thousands out there. We don't need hundreds. We need thousands to let them know that we're not going to tolerate this for our kids, because they are our future of tomorrow. And I appreciate your show, and you're doing a good job, and I'd like to see you on more often, or have your own show. I'd like to see people support you to have your own show. This is the kind of man call it, and like I said, I appreciate you and Richard when you're on. Well, I appreciate you doing the show yourself. And I thank you, and I'll continue to listen.
Well, thank you so much. I certainly appreciate it. It's quite an honor to have you state your viewpoint. I certainly do not take these airwaves lightly. I think that they are an excellent opportunity to communicate with one another, and I spend an enormous amount of time producing each show that I am fortunate to be able to articulate, and it takes an enormous amount of time. You all know that I do not shoot from the hip. I want to be locked and loaded with facts before I enter into the debate arena. That's just the way I function. I think that it is a credit to our vehicles when people come locked and loaded with facts. Again, Metro Detroit, I'm Deetta Wilcoxen. We're spending our time together this morning talking about Rhodes extends time with DPS to focus on strengthening elected board. I've got to go to station break. I have 2 lines that are not illuminated. I encourage you to get yourselves in queue. And as soon as we come back on the other side of the break, I will delve right into what it is you want to share with the other 5 million people who are watching and listening to us. Again, Metro Detroit, Deetta Wilcoxen. We will be back on the other side of the break.
Wayne County Community College is a beacon of hope for so many people who can see the impact it's made and that we're celebrating the 50th anniversary and all the good that it's done.
It has been the pathway for so many to obtain a higher education.
Congratulations to Wayne County Community College for 50 years of service to Detroit, Wayne County, and all of Southeast Michigan.
Making education much more available and affordable. 50th year is just the beginning of the first century.
Are you in legal trouble? Are you in need of legal advice? Or just have general legal questions? Watch Law Power Hour and get your questions answered by experienced attorneys who are experts in their field. Know your rights. Watch Law Power Hour, hosted by Barry Keller, attorney at law, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. here on WHPR, Detroit Live.
Motor City, get ready. It's the 2016 Rhythm and Blues Music Hall of Fame induction ceremony and concert. Sunday, August 21st in the Ford Performing Arts Theater in Dearborn. Hosted by Mary Wilson of the Supremes. With this year's inductees, Smokey Robinson, the Supremes and the Velvelettes. Also, Detroit's own Mac Rice, Eddie Levette and the Falcons. Plus, TV1 founder Miss Kathy Hughes. Also, Prince, Bobby Brown, Dionne Warwick, Bootsy Collins, Jimi Hendrix. Plus, live performances from legendary Motown artists. Along with the Shades of Blue. And for the evening's finale, an unforgettable live performance and concert from the Dramatics featuring Willie Ford. For tickets and more info, call 313-943-2354. For the 2016 Rhythm and Blues Music Hall of Fame induction ceremony and concert, Sunday, August 21st at the Ford Performing Arts Theater in Dearborn, presented by Burke's Entertainment Complex.
The people which sat in darkness saw a great light, and to them which sat in the region and the shadow of death, upon them the light dawned.
Come out and experience a life-changing prophetic word on August 27th, Saturday at 7:30 p.m. and August 28th, Sunday at 2 o'clock p.m. 2 days of heaven on earth under the tent with Apostle Joe Allen, a man sent of God with an apostolic anointing in God's service. One night of glory at 7:30 p.m. August the 27th. Chains break on Sunday at 2 o'clock p.m. August 28th. Come and taste the powers of the world to come at Oasis International Church under the tent at 14873 Collinson, East Point, Michigan. For more information, call 586-778-7956. That is 586-778-7956. It's time to break the darkness.
WHPR TV is now on demand. Catch us when you want, how you want, where you want. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Watch your favorite TV shows on demand. And be sure to download the WHPR app. We're now on demand at your demand. WHPR TV Detroit on demand.com. A Watkins Broadcasting Company.
Arrested? You have the right to remain silent. Everything you say can and will be held against you. Don't talk to the police. Talk to me first, Attorney Warren E. McAlpine from the Action Attorney Center. I know the law and I know your rights. Whether felony, misdemeanor, drug, OWI, domestic violence, or traffic violations, I can help you. Call today, Warren E. McAlpine, 1-888-292-6908.
Wayne County Community College is a beacon of hope for so many people who can see the impact it's made and that we're celebrating the 50th anniversary and all the good that it's done.
It has been the pathway for so many to obtain a higher education.
Congratulations to Wayne County Community College for 50 years of service to Detroit, Wayne County, and all of Southeast Michigan.
Making education much more available and affordable. 50th year is just the beginning of the first century.
Are you in legal trouble? Are you in need of legal advice? Or just have general legal questions? Watch Law Power Hour and get your questions answered by experienced attorneys who are experts in their field. Know your rights. Watch Law Power Hour, hosted by Barry Keller, attorney at law, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. here on WHPR, Detroit Live.
Motor City, get ready. It's the 2016 Rhythm and Blues Music Hall of Fame induction ceremony and concert. Sunday, August 21st in the Ford Performing Arts Theater in Dearborn. Hosted by Mary Wilson of the Supremes. With this year's inductees, Smokey Robinson, the Supremes and the Velvelettes. Also, Detroit's own Mac Rice, Eddie Levette and the Falcons. Plus, TV1 founder Miss Kathy Hughes. Also, Prince, Bobby Brown, Dionne Warwick, Bootsy Collins, Jimi Hendrix. Plus, live performances from legendary Motown artists. Along with the Shades of Blue. And for the evening's finale, an unforgettable live performance and concert from the Dramatics featuring Willie Ford. For tickets and more info, call 313-943-2354. For the 2016 Rhythm and Blues Music Hall of Fame induction ceremony and concert, Sunday, August 21st at the Ford Performing Arts Theater in Dearborn, presented by Burke's Entertainment Complex.
Lord, I'm just sitting here looking over my life, Lord. Let me take inventory. Can I take it? Can I take it? 'Cause I know you. I know you. I know you've been good to me, Lord.
And Metro Detroit, we're back. I am Deetta Wilcoxen, sitting in this morning for J.D. Hill. We have been spending our time talking about an article penned by Rochelle Riley entitled Rose Extends Time with DPS to Focus on Strengthening Elected Board. I am still losing callers. I don't understand what is going on, but if your call has been dropped, please feel free to call back. There is one line that is not illuminated. I apologize for it. And I told you at the beginning of the show that there were some high-paying jobs in the Hillary for America camp. I want to give you that information before we go back to our topic of the day, and I will go immediately back to the phone lines afterwards. This is the Michigan Coordinated Campaign and Hillary for America. You can contact Mona DeQuis or DeQuis, DEQUIS. Her number is 734-945-1717. Again, that's 734-945-1717. She is the Oakland County Regional Organizing Director. You can also contact the field organizer, who is Greg Williams, and he can be contacted at 248-602-5256. Just for ease of reference, I'm going to give you those numbers again. Mona DeQuis's number is 734-945-1717, and Greg Williams is at 248-602-5256. These are supposed to be not only paid positions, but highly paid positions. I wanted to share that information with you because far too often, insofar as I'm concerned, people ask this community to volunteer. In a capitalistic society, we are asked to be the volunteers. Okay. Caller, you're live.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, Ms. Wilcoxen. You know, as I'm listening to you and listening to, that interview, I hope it was an interview from Ms. Riley in her article. I hope so. But I think there's not another picture, but the whole structure, not only in Michigan, Detroit Public Schools was an institution, and also the other higher institutions, state-run institutions, not private so much, but there are private colleges, I think, in Michigan. I'm not sure, but they have a lot of state-run. And education is built on a foundation. And what they're doing is they're destroying the foundation not only in Detroit but throughout the state. Learning is collective. In my years, I mean, it's collective. In other words, you don't come here with all the knowledge, but you collectively have to go forward. You build with other people. You get information, that's learning, and then you go forward. And your colleges, Eastern, Michigan, where do they get their resources from? You can get all your resources, and your resources is your students. And if they leave the state, you don't have any what they call the intellectual whatever. You have people that stay here, build here, and do here. Okay. Now, if you figure you can get them from another country, you know what what's the difference is they're not Americans. They don't have the same belief systems that is inherent from American. In other words, belief in the Declaration of Independence, belief in the Constitution. Okay, that's not just something it is born into us. Well, and it's born into black people because we're a union with people, even though we were slaves, but we're still here and we're Americans, whether by choice or by, well, whatever, if you want to say that, but whatever. And your institutions reinforce this. But when you say, I can see when he says, well, we're going to bring Syrians, and I'm not against immigrants coming. But the world is different now. They don't come with an attitude that they're in love with the people that just bombed them out and destroyed them. Okay, they have a different opinion, and this state and these people that's legislating our state, I don't think that they really understand what they're doing. And this Judge wrote his comments. Not only are they offensive, it is just plain backwards. I mean, he's. I don't want to put him with Donald Trump, but if he thinks that people are going to go backwards, that's just not going to happen. You can see it in the wars over in the other. When you want to impose feudalism or you want to impose, that's just not going to go. I mean, but they can try it. They're going to try it. I don't see the outcome. The problem, if we have a problem, we got a problem. Is, are we going to allow it? And I don't have that much more fight in me when your children are gone. And I'm looking at others that's standing there saying, well, I think it's all right. I got a couple of neighbors, there's not many kids, but I don't hear them pursuing an outcry at all. But so I said, well, if you think your child is fine, then wherever he's getting education is, then go right ahead. I don't see you prospering in America without an education. I don't see any of the DeVos and the other people keeping what they got without an educated public. That's just me talking, I guess. I can't give any answers to or things to what the situation is, but it's not going to work. It's just not going to work.
Well, listen, I appreciate you sharing your viewpoint here, and I would just ask you to remain dedicated to cause, because fight is not always boots on the ground. It's mental collateral, it is financial collateral. So stay connected to your community because it needs you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Caller, you're live.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to turn my speaker down because when you would not leave it, not the speaker on, I can't hear you at all. I'm going to see if I can hear, you can hear me.
I can hear you fine so far.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. I haven't had a problem hearing you.
Okay, I could barely, something's wrong with the station volume. let me say this. I'm kind of slacking off listening to the station. And the reason and I don't listen to none of the other talk shows, because I'm seeing these stations and talk shows that, especially we got the only black TV station in the country. It's not we're not organizing from none of this. We are griping. We are venting. Will they be successful? They already successful. Anytime they would say, you all are bankrupt and you don't have finances right, but we're going to pay this judge $18,000 an hour, whatever they're paying it. And we accept that and don't organize and ain't in the street. We let Martin Luther King Jr. preach and die for nothing. We have proved ourselves not to be caliber people. That's why I don't listen to the station. I'm tired of hearing black people on TV, radio, griping, not fighting. And I presented a fight and how to fight to the people. I told the people plainly that you first to fight, you got to have thousands. But to have thousands, you must have first have the way to talk to each other. You must have and if you're poor, a lot of time, and you can't get a meal for meal, then you got to have a door campaign the same as you got a TV communication. So that we can set up a communication and use our numbers, because that's the only thing we got is numbers, and shut the whole stuff down. They're laughing at us. 33, I'm talking to you all that call in regular. They are laughing because you sit down there in a crisis. We're supposed to be in a crisis. They come in, bring the EEOs, and they make $400,000 and more a year. And you talking about you don't like what's going on? They done took all our money, tax money. They dismount the water. They dismount the schools. Those are money. I should go in your all's pocket every time I see you, and you shouldn't even see nothing. I should go in your pocket and just take what I want when I want to take it, because that's what they're doing. So I'm just saying, I'm almost tired of hearing it. I'm probably going to just stop listening to talk shows because I get tired of hearing, and the white people are tired and other people are tired because it shows you we are cowards. Griping about what they done, one thing after another. Next thing, they kick grandmama in the butt. Oh, boy, that's terrible, didn't it? And so I'm just going to say, I'm going to sign off and say, it's nothing to talk about. We got to organize. Any other talk is talking mentally to get yourself together mentally, and they take everything from you and move you out. What good is you get yourself together mentally from? You can't separate mental and physical existence. Okay, I'm going to just hang up.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Oh. Well, I'd like to think that what I'm doing is not sitting here merely griping about a problem. I like to think that. Now, I could be wrong. What I'd like to think is that the only way to execute an effective battle in any war is to be knowledgeable of who your enemy is and knowledgeable of the strategies that your enemy intends to execute against you, and to be knowledgeable in the art of war and understand that all of the things that you indicate that are happening to us are truly happening to us, that people are truly reaching into our pocketbooks and taking whatever they want, and you are probably right in that they're laughing at us. But I make the argument, as I've made the argument before, it does not matter. It does not matter how innocent and how less powerful, let me say, your adversary is. You can only push your adversary so far. It doesn't matter how weak the animal is. You can push him to the point of no return. And when you do, you can push him up against a wall, but he'll come off of it. You will not understand him. You will not know how to defeat him because you are experiencing an adversary that you did not even know existed. That's why we talk about sleeping giants. So, I have faith in my community. I have faith in the God that I serve. And I do believe in the strength and the agility of the community of which I am a part. I know how we have been attacked. History has example after example after example of how black folk have been attacked for absolutely no reason at all. It just means that someone else can benefit economically from the onslaught of attacks into our community. I give you that. But I will not give you that we are a powerless people. I agree with you. Our strength, most of it is in our numbers. And I am suggesting to the listening and viewing audience this morning that we are not a powerless people. I am suggesting to you that maybe this is the battle that actually wakes us up. When you destroy a people's children, you destroy a people. When you separate a community's people from its youth, you destroy that community. Perhaps this is the wake-up call. I don't know. I don't have any crystal balls. But what I do know is that I can take the time to critically analyze these issues, and I can articulate them, I think, from a position of strength. And despite the fact that you are not aware of things that are happening in the community, there are some things that are happening in this community, and they are designed for the betterment of our community. And as one of my callers indicated earlier, they are designed for the betterment of mankind. So I say stay tuned. Caller, you're live.
Good morning, Ms. Wilcoxen.
Good morning. How are you?
You know you're my modern-day Ida B. Wells, right?
That is such a compliment.
You know, when I see and hear about people calling in reference to what these people have done to us in the city of Detroit, when I hear them talking about the unemployment numbers, how the police is beating us down in the streets. I'm 62, 63 now. My birthday was last week. But when you search your history, you realize your relationship that you had with the Europeans from the beginning. He has never, ever, since the beginning of America, done right by you. When they fight a battle, for instance, how they stole all Detroit's money, they already had a plan on what they was going to do with the money after they stole it. We're only fighting this battle on one front. We're on defense. Every time they do something to us, we run into the courts, we throw in the law up in their face. So we only fighting one side of the battle. The other side of the battle is the money. They're going to do what they've been doing since the beginning. They're going to continue to do that, because that's their MO. What we're not doing is getting our finances in order. In other words, the same amount of effort we're putting in on defense, we need to be putting in on finance. I mean, I look at these little cups where you go into place and they say donate to such and such a charity. You know, they got little plastic jars that sometimes people steal them. We're not even trying to pull no finances together. Putting money together, it should be our first priority. Everybody's talking about organizing. You can organize after you get the loot. You understand? I mean, if people can collect money, for instance, you pay union dues. When the cable bill comes for $90, $120, you pay it without question. You pay property, city, and federal taxes without question. As soon as somebody asks you for $10 for the Black Baby Fund, you start getting a frown. Your smile turn upside down. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So if we were getting our finances in order first, we should do that before we even start fighting them. You understand? Because you're even going to need money when you start fighting. And everybody make it off like it's a hard thing to do. It ain't hard to pay the cable bill. So how is it hard to ask individuals and the viewers for $10 a month for the Black Baby Fund? From that fund, we can do a whole bunch of things. I'm tired of hearing about this other crap. Get the loot together. And thanks for taking my call, Ms. Wilcoxen.
Thank you for making your comments here. I agree with you, especially in our capitalistic society. Money is the oil that keeps the engine running. There's no questioning that. And we have got to spend more of our money on causes that are important and impactful in our community. And as I indicated to a previous caller, I understand that we get tired. I understand that we don't have any more energetic fight. I understand that children leave our domicile, and as a result of that, we feel less of an interest to be, less of a need to be engaged. But at the same time, there are still those people who are fighting for you, fighting for your children, fighting for your grandchildren, who need bail money, who need money for food while they're out campaigning and protesting. Yes, those things have to be taken care of. So you're absolutely right. And we have got to find a way, because we know how to do this. It's not that we have not done it before. Exactly. So thank you so much. I do
Remember
appreciate
when they forced us into segregation? We did it then.
Absolutely.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks so much. Our community was so good at utilizing money. We used to recognize intellectual talent in our churches, and a church would actually finance the best and the brightest, sending them off to college and making certain that they financially stayed there. We did that in our community. But that's when we knew who our children were. What I'm saying to you now is this last assault against public education in the city of Detroit is one of the final efforts, I do believe, to separate us from our children. We cannot allow that. Caller, you're live.
Thank you, Deanna. I just want to share three things. Number one, you read in the article that there are 68 people on the school board candidate list. And the list that I have has 64. The list came directly from the clerk into my hands at the Election Commission on the Boulevard. Just curious about those other 4 people who dropped off. But secondly, to encourage the gentleman you just spoke with, there are 2 areas where people are gathering capital for our benefit. One is J.D. Hill, with the EEOC concept and the products. When you patronize and purchase the products, you are helping to support WHPR. Secondly, the Son of Man is doing exactly what he talked about. And people are sharing their money with the Son of Man, who in turn has done a lot for WHPR. He buried the mortgage for WHPR a few years back to the tune of approximately $70,000. He also, his organization, purchased a generator for WHPR so that in the event that the power would go out through storms, etc., the generator kicks in and the station continues. The communication for the people in this community can continue. So to think that there are not capitalistic efforts being put forth for the benefit of this community is kind of unfortunate, and I wanted to share that so that he would be encouraged to have perhaps support JD by purchasing the African Easy products and to donate to the Son of Man's organization. They both support WHPR so that communication for one can continue and people can be employed also. Just needed to share that.
Well, and I appreciate you sharing it. You are our resident historian. We rely on you. It is unfortunate, I think, from a city perspective in that we don't have any city historians. The clerk of the city is supposed to keep our records. The law department is supposed to be directly tied to the clerk. And we were supposed to know that when Receiving Hospital was sold, it belonged to the people and was not supposed to be sold.
Right.
It was the job of the city clerk, the law department, the mayor, the city council, the attorney general, the governor of the state of Michigan to know that that public asset would belong to the people and should have been with the people to this day. So thank you so much. I salute you.
Thank you. You too, dear.
Listen, I want to make one correction. I said earlier that Judge Rhodes has been paid $40,000 to train people in a 2-day session for these new school board positions. I stand corrected. He's paid $18,750 per month. Now, we don't know what he does with the other 28 approximately days in a month. We don't know what he does with those. So did it cost us $18,750 for those 2 days? I don't know, but it certainly did not cost us $40,000 as I reported earlier. I'm not the best at math, but I'm not the worst either. So accept my apology in that regard. Thank you, Theo.
You're welcome, Keith.
Caller, you're live.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
This is Brother Knight. I'm doing great.
I haven't heard from you in a very long time.
I'm doing all right.
Good to
as
hear
you
it.
know, the politicians up there in Lansing, Snyder's running a criminal enterprise.
Yes.
And we have a lot of sellouts that's helping him. I know you've seen that movie, Django Unchained, and the part that Samuel Jackson played in that movie. We have a lot of these people running around here that are sellouts. I don't want to call them what I want to call them because we're on the air. And the other thing I want to say is until we wake up and smell the coffee, nothing is going to change. But the other thing I want to mention, for all these criminals out here, we need to do like Charles Bronson did in Death Wish. When we see one, send them to the morgue. Because the police department can't do it all. Chief Craig is a good friend of mine. I've been knowing him when he used to work for my uncle out at LAPD. But we need to get together with some brothers and stop these guys. We have some people around here, up by Ohio, on the news, riding around in a Dodge, robbing people, hitting people on bicycles. They did it right here on Ohio on Fanco. They did it on Greenfield and Puritan. We need to have more people out here, more of our brothers, looking out for these characters so we can get them off the street by any means necessary.
Well, I'm sure you don't mean, hold on a minute, just bear with me. I'm sure you don't really mean by any means necessary. And if you do, you will have to admit that there are impressionable people watching, and we have to be very careful in terms of how we structure our strategies. I agree with you that we need to do more to rein in crime. We certainly do. A 16-year-old child was killed in the city of Detroit last night. We have people sitting in cars who are being shot to death in our city, and this happens every day. We have people going to parks alive and leaving in body bags. It is unfortunate, but we have closed off our downtown. We have taken people and we've relegated them to the neighborhoods wherein we cannot contain violence because the city of Detroit is 144 square miles. You can't contain that. You have to have people in specific areas wherein we have the manpower to make certain that this city stays stays safe. So I appreciate your desire, but we cannot advocate vigilanteism. We cannot advocate killing people. We can't advocate that.
Yeah, because I know I'm in the 12th precinct, and I know Commander Thomas real well. They do a good job, but a lot of the officers that are retired they're hiring more, but they're just replacing the ones that are retired. But we need more people to join. They need to raise the salary to about $50,000 a year. And then you would have more police officers staying here in Detroit instead of going to Texas or the suburbs. But we have a lot of good officers here. And I have a lot of relatives that's on the police department. My oldest son is a U.S. Marshal. So we need the public to come together and start paying attention to what's going on to make sure our kids are safe. No more 7-year-olds won't get shot and end up in the hospital. But we need to, like I said, we need to get rid of some of our sellouts too, because they are enabling these criminals to steal our money. Because it's like I always said, the city and the state ain't broke its power tricks. And hopefully everybody will get in contact with Barbara McClay down there, 211 4th Street up on the 21st floor, Suite 2001, either start going down there or calling her, blowing her phone up at 226-9501. If 2,000 or 3,000 people show up down there, you will feel the pressure. And then people need to notify Loretta Lynch. We was here not too long ago. I've been knowing her for a long time. Start writing her letters and calling up there, blow up the phone up there in Washington, D.C. But I want all our brothers out here, when you see something, speak up. Don't be scared. And two, I'm hoping more people are registered to carry firearms. More sisters, more brothers get out here that don't have a record and take you some gun training and make sure you have a firearm on you. Because the more people that are armed, good people that are armed, the bad people will think about before they go running in somebody's house. And, hopefully things will get better. But like you say, it's strength in numbers. But until we wake up and get rid of all the sellouts and the people that's helping. Oh, one last thing I'm going to say. Mike Duggan didn't save DMC. I have relatives that are doctors and nurses at Harper Hospital. The government saved DMC. The mayor didn't save DMC. He stopped the people from unionizing down there and everything else. So if people do their research on that, they'll find out that Mike Duggan didn't save nothing.
Well,
and,
listen.
Keep your eye on him.
Okay,
I'm gonna let you go. And I tell RJ and Henry Tyler, I say keep up the good work.
Okay, again, it was good hearing your voice again. Thank you so much for sharing.
You too.
Caller, you're live.
Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. Can you speak up a tad?
Yeah, is this better?
Yes, a little.
A little. Let me see. Okay. Thank you for advocating to the brother that just got off the phone that we can't run around like Charles Bronson, killing our vulnerable citizens who may have some issues and socialization and trying to navigate this racist capitalistic society. We can't just go and just kill people because we think they are no good. We have to embrace, especially our youth, with everything that comes with them. We got to embrace them and love them and try to protect them. It's an amazing world that we're journeying in right now. I want to say too that I think our great station here is losing an opportunity to really bring this community together. And I'll say that in all respect. For instance, there's some examples like the so-called Hispanic stations around the country. They have one central theme or mission, and all the different programs, talk show hosts, they're all on the same mission. And they really unite that community. Same thing with the LGBT community in their programs. There are radio shows and stations. Same thing with the Arabs and all of that. But here in this supposedly only black station in the country, here in Highland Park, Detroit, we have the programming is too diverse. We have people who support this system that is destroying this black mechanism called Detroit. We have people here, who support that. You know what I'm saying? We have too much religious programming. Now, listen, if you're a Christian or Muslim, whatever, fine. But that's a personal issue. I think it takes up too much time. We should be every program, like 90% of the programming on this station, should be about getting rid of that racist legislature up in Lansing, in the governor and the attorney general and all these people who have literally come in and destroyed Detroit. If we had programming like that, 90% on this station, it would give the community an opportunity to organize in a really, really focused way, and we could have more ammunition to stop a lot of the attacks on our community. But no, what do we have? We got people supporting the mayor. We got this one talking about Jesus all day. We got this one supporting the mayor. We got that one supporting the mayor. We got this one saying bring Snyder to the gulag. You know, it's just too diverse, and it doesn't help our community in a collective way. But I just want to say that, and I thank you for you being here. You are one of the standard bearers on how all programming should be on this station, and I really like seeing you on here.
Thank you so much.
You have a great day.
I so appreciate it. You have a great day, too.
All right, bye-bye.
Caller, you're live.
Hey, good morning, Deanna. This is
Good
Deputy
morning.
Chief Amos. You got a great show today, and I'm just laughing at the last caller that said I mentioned the gulag. Our problem, Deanna, is we have a mayor that is disconnected from the people, i.e. the citizens of Detroit. And he's done an excellent job of disconnecting the city council from the citizens of Detroit. We should not support elected officials who support elected officials or candidates for public office that do not support the interests of the people. That's our problem. We're contributing to our own demise when we support elected officials who do not support the citizens. Now, the solution is, as some of us are saying, we need to organize. Well, yeah, we need to organize to remove elected officials from office that do not support the interests of the people, and we need to support the community benefit agreement concept. That's all I got to say.
Well, I appreciate you saying it here. In terms of politicians who do not effectively represent us, I would be probably at the top of the list advocating for their demise. I did take Janice Winfrey to the Attorney General recently regarding the fact that she is not complying with law in terms of putting Republicans and Democrats at each precinct in the city of Detroit as election inspectors as required by law. And we also took a serious look at how an election can be stolen without anyone even knowing that it's being stolen in the city of Detroit through what are called test ballots. So I know firsthand what it is you're talking about. I also know all of the work that is involved in that. It is a thankless job in a lot of respects because, one, people don't know that you've taken action, and two, in some instances when they do know, they think that it's not important, you should have done something else. I just suggest that with all of the problems in our community, there are enough problems for us to get on a bandwagon that suits our fancy. As long as you do something.
I agree with you. Here's the example of what you're saying. Do you see Councilwoman Lopez fighting against her people? You don't see that. Do you see Leland fighting against his people? The only ones you see fighting against their people are the bought-off Negroes sitting on the council, and there's 5 of them: Cushenberry, Ayers, Benson, Spivey, and Tate. So, like I say, when we talk about organizing, then we need to do it right now and get a plan in place and action in place to remove those 5. And if the other 3 start acting crazy, then we need to get what other 2, because we have 7 black folks sitting on that council. If they start acting stupid, we can get them out of here too. So, hey, thank you for taking my call.
Thanks so much for calling. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Caller, you're live.
Good morning, Miss Wilcoxen.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm all right. I love your program.
Thank you.
The man that called and said, I used to enjoy what he said, but he has really changed my mind now, because he said Mr. Watkins should turn the station over to people, to organize people. Who ever heard of anything like that? Who ever heard of that? He can't pay his bills turning it over to people organizing. They should do that anyway. You can organize people in a lot of places. I don't understand where he's coming from. Does he make sense to you?
Well, I'm going to let him have that discussion with Mr. Watkins. I don't do programming, so I listened to him and gave him an opportunity to share his viewpoints. He may have...
It's a joke, what he's saying.
I'm sorry?
It's just a joke what he's saying about taking over the only good black station that we have and turn it over to organize. What kind of sense does that make? I mean, we can do better than that. We can do better than that. We've been organizing something all our lives, some kind of way. You don't take over no station. How is the station owner and his family going to eat? So I'm not going to listen to him too much anymore, because I really don't know where he's coming from. But I will continue to listen to you, and thank you so much for taking my call.
Thank you so much for sharing. I so appreciate you. Metro Detroit, I am Deetta Wilcoxen. I'm sitting in this morning for J.D. Hill. We have spent our time talking about Rochelle Riley's article on Judge Rhodes, who has an extension on his personal service contract through Governor Snyder to the tune of $18,750 per month that we, the people of the city of Detroit, are paying him to educate, he says, the incoming school board. The article says that he's extending his time with DPS to focus on strengthening elected school board. It's totally contrary to the manner in which politics operates. If we are electing people, we are having the people make a decision based on what the people perceive to be the weaknesses and the strengths of those people, not what Judge Rhodes perceives to be the weaknesses and the strengths of those people. If our politics operate the way they're supposed to operate, then Judge Rhodes would have no impact on how people are elected. Caller, you're live.
Yes. Is this me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hi, Miss Wilcox.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I had to calm down, so I'm glad you were speaking. It gave me a minute to get my composure, because I wasn't going to call in, and then it's just a caller. It's just like it just hit the crazy button. It's like, no, you got, no, don't. It's like, oh, no, I got to say something. So, okay, let me get myself together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. For starters, the response you gave a couple of callers ago, I got to get that and frame it. That was just so profound. I guess it was in response to Mr. Tyrone, and I'm not knocking him. It was just your response was beautiful, and I got to just type that out and frame it. That was just beautiful, your response. But it was about a caller who was saying it was too much religion in any matter, and I just like almost went bonkers, because you can't do anything without God. That's the part of the problem. And we as black people have always been spiritual people. I think the problem is people don't know how to pray. If in prayer has nothing to do with the religion, it's communication with God. The devil prays. He went to God and asked, could he destroy Job? And God allowed him to do what he did. My point is, if people knew how to pray, they could shut down a business. If you know how to pray, you could shut down your enemy. If you know how to pray, you could cause people to be healed. And I'm a witness. The person who murdered my brother And he still has people out here threatening my family. And I used to be afraid. The person that killed my brother was on the run for almost 2 years. And it was so traumatic for my family. And he still had people making threats on the family. And I get to the point. I went to prayer. I'm like, he will not get away with this. Because my brother has a baby sister just like got bulldog tenacity. And I went to God to pray. I said, wherever he is, trouble. I asked God to take your angels, trouble him, let him not have no sleep, let him not have any peace. Wherever he go, let him be looking over his shoulder. They caught that man in another state on a traffic warrant, extradited him back to Michigan. It was a hung trial. He went to trial 3 times, and he was convicted. And it was rough, but prayer works. People don't know how to pray. My granddaughter, she's a teenager now. When her mother was carrying her, they said, oh, she has a cyst on her brain inside her mother's belly. I'm like, no, devil, you will not take my granddaughter. I prayed. They went back and looked. It was gone, and she's a teenager now. And their little diagnosis, it just did not come to pass. People need to know how to pray. And last but not least, before I go, because I have sons, I have to pray over them every day because they're black men, so they won't be destroyed by some of the crooked police, not all of them, but the rogue officers. Just constant prayer. But there were some people, and I know those people were coming to rob my house, but before I go to bed or just all through the day, I said, God, put your angels all around my house, and if somebody comes to my house to try to harm me, let them be harmed first. That man came to rob, coming right towards my house, but it was somebody walking down the street that he saw first, but he did not know that guy was a CPL carrier. He went to rob the guy, and the guy shot him, and I don't know if he lived or not, right outside in front of my house. So it's not about religion. It's about prayer. The slaves prayed. Martin Luther King Jr. prayed. You could shut down a business with prayer. You could do a lot with prayer, but you got to know how to pray. We got to get into our spirituality, and you could fight a war with prayer. You could I've shut a business down. I prayed that business dry up for disrespecting black people and what they were doing. I said, let it dry up. Let it dry up. It wasn't 6 months. That building closed down. We have to learn how to pray and how to do warfare in the spirit, and you will get results because the devil prays. We got to pray, and not some humble prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I'm not knocking that. But you got to know how to war in the spirit and bring these people, these crooked politicians down. Let them just can't talk. They got to resign and get out the way. Okay, let me stop.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I completely understand what it is you're saying, and I do understand your passion because I'm a praying woman, and I do know that prayer works. And if you need an example of prayer working, look to Flint. Caller, you're live.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In regards to Judge Rhodes, he is just feeding at the public trough and has gotten so good to him. They decided to extend it another 3 or 4 months. He serves no purpose whatsoever, and I believe he's being rewarded for his decision on that contrived bankruptcy that we retirees and citizens of Detroit took a huge hit on. So now, it's a slap in the face. The very person that's going to put you in misery is here over your children. It's unbelievable what's going on here in the city of Detroit. And as far as those city council people, everybody says we're going to have to replace them with get 5 people, get 5 more. You're just going to get another 5 just like them. I don't believe we've had a legitimate election since Coleman Young got out of office. I don't believe Archer was legitimately elected because Coleman Young endorsed Sharon McPhail. We all love Coleman Young, so why in the world would we go against his endorsement? I believe the elections have been rigged ever since. The powers that be pick out their special Negroes, boulets, whatever you want to call them, to come in here and keep us down. So it's not about let's get rid of Tate, let's get rid of Spivey, because we're going to get 2 more just like them. That's how it goes. Everybody has to realize the thing is rigged. So what we do from here, I don't know. We're going to have to go and I don't know if the federal government can come in here and straighten out these election procedures. We tried to get rid of Janice Winfrey. That didn't work. She's terrible as a city clerk. How did she get reelected? She reelected herself. So this is a deep-rooted problem. And like I said, getting rid of those 5 is not going to do any good, because 5 more just like them will be replaced. The people haven't won with the city council in decades. So that tells you something right there. They're always going to have their 5 votes that favor the corporations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You're not the only one. Donald Trump is not the only one saying elections are rigged in America. And I think that's why we find that there is so much tension between Americans and their government all over the country, because people do not believe in the integrity of elections. They don't. That is just a stated fact. We were told that our complaint was responsible for bringing the federal government in and monitoring our elections for the primary. I don't know whether that was the case or not, but I do know that we do the very best that we can to make certain that the people's voices are heard through the electoral process. We are due nothing less. Caller, you're live. Caller, are you there?
Good morning, my dear.
Good morning. You're going to share with us this morning? Okay, I'm going to put you on hold and see if I can bring you in at a later point. Caller, you're live.
Hey, Mr. Wilcoxen, how you doing?
I can barely hear you.
Well, I concur with all of this called in about the 5 council members.
Yes.
And, our leaders in the city, when it comes to the city council, we really need to understand what it is they do and how we can use them to our advantage. You know, we know Brenda Jones is not the council president, right? So everybody thought that the city, that we would get a fair shake on certain things. But you know, Brenda Jones ain't all that clean. You know, and when they start going into her background, they're going to start seeing some things that's going to make everybody question why they supported Brenda Jones in the first place. Hear me?
I'm listening.
Yeah, so they're going to wonder why they go Brenda Jones. Brenda Jones have done a lot of things that has been swept under the rug, and there are people out there who know about it. And as a matter of fact, I was meeting with them last night, and a few of them wanted to bring some things up during her election, but I'm not that type of person. But I will say this. If our city council cannot help us like we need to be helped, and if we all being redirected somewhere else, then maybe we need to just redirect them somewhere else and give them powers to the people who really can help us. Because legislatively, if the ordinances don't reflect the views and opinions of the people, then I believe we ought to let our penmanship reflect our views and opinions of them not being there. Our ordinances in our city need to be written by citizens, not by no corporation to protect their taxes that they build. The ordinances need to be written in favor of people. And I can look at Detroit City ordinances, I don't see much of nothing that's in favor of its citizens or its electorate.
I agree with you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
All righty. I have a few minutes left. Caller, you're live. Caller, are you there?
I will not take up your minutes.
Caller? Okay, I don't know what's going on with that line or that caller. Metro Detroit, I am Deetta Wilcoxen. I sat in this morning at the gracious invitation of J.D. Hill. I trust that I have brought something to you that was of benefit. I certainly did invest the time in trying to bring you something that was of benefit. As I say to you every time I come to these airwaves, Metro Detroit, I leave these airwaves a more enlightened person than I was when I came. In the words of my grandmother, God did not die and grant intellectualism to any one of us. We all bring something to the table. And you, Metro Detroit, have a wealth of knowledge between you. And I thank you so much when you share a bit of it with me. Again, I'm Deetta Wilcoxen. I thank you so much for having spent this time with me. And who knows, I might see you again tomorrow, 10 o'clock until noon. We'll see. Thanks so much and have a great evening.